Coming up next is Dr. Kimberly Taylor. Here's your chance to talk about what matters to you. Although you will receive helpful advice from Dr. Taylor, remember, this is not to be construed as a form of psychotherapy, diagnosis, or treatment, and cannot replace a therapeutic relationship with a mental health professional. You can reach Dr. Taylor by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. You can also listen live on the internet at drkimtaylorshow.com. So here now is Dr. Kimberly Taylor.
Hi, this is Kim Taylor. I wanted to first give a shout out to the Baron Ron Heron to thank him for having me on his show Wednesday. That was great fun, and I hope that we can do that again. What I wanted to talk about today was about overcoming fear and self-doubt. Have you ever wanted to do something in your life that was a little bit out of your comfort zone? It made you excited just thinking about it, but then you found that you had talked yourself out of it almost as quickly as the idea had entered your mind. You've heard that little voice of doubt in your head that shows up and says, "What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What will others think?" Or, "What makes you think you can do that? Are you crazy?" I can't tell you how many times I talked myself out of doing this very radio show. You should have heard the conversations I had in my head. Well, maybe not. But when we step out of our comfort zone and we take a risk, we all will feel afraid. What we have to learn is that this is normal. Our fear is there to warn us of possible dangers ahead, and that the reality is we actually might have to take action to protect ourselves. And when we start out on a new adventure outside of our comfort zone, we have to know that we will be able to survive when we take this risk. Do I really want it? Is the risk worth it? Will I survive? So far for me, the answer has been yes. But overcoming fear and self-doubt is a challenge we all face at different times in our lives. We grow up receiving all kinds of messages about what we need to do and whom we need to be in order to be loved and accepted. We also tend to have negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves, and this makes us really doubt our ability to succeed. Call it lack of confidence, fear of failure, performance anxiety, or self-doubt. All of the above is how I felt before starting this show. Fears can come in many different forms. It can be unease, upset stomach, nervousness, tension, dread, irritability, illness, and phobias. We get into a state of self-doubt and lack of confidence because we fear rejection, criticism, loss, inadequacy, pain, abandonment, and even death. The question is not how can I rid myself of fear, but how can I move forward with my fear still present? How can I make it work for me instead of against me? That's the conversation we need to have. Eleanor Roosevelt wrote, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you think you cannot do." Oh, and this has been so true for me. In order to move past my own fears, I had to go through my own steps, and I'm going to share those with you at the end of the show so that you too can move past your fears and follow your dreams. It's not your fear that's holding you back. It's your attitude toward it that is. Our emotions are like the compasses in our life, leading us either towards something we want or away from something we fear. It is through our emotions and feelings that we experience our lives and are touched by the events that unfold. Without emotions and our real connection to them, we cannot make choices that truly reflect what matters to us. The bottom line is, if we have no connection to our emotions, we're unable to connect to the experiences in our life, and then our lives feel empty and without much meaning. So get on the phone. I want to talk to you. You can also email your questions at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com, and I invite you to call in and share what's happening in your life. What are you afraid of? What are you facing and dealing with? This is a place to talk where we can work it out. This is the hour of the week that's for you. My screener, Sandy Jacoy, is standing by. She'll take your calls and to help you form your questions to get you ready to come online with me. So get on the phone, give me a call. It's 805-564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. I'll be right back after the break to take your calls. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
Hi, this is Kimberly Taylor. We're on the phone with Bev. Hi, Bev.
Hi, Kimberly.
What's going on with you today?
Well, what's going on with me is that I am having really big sleep problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I had cancer 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of it. And I'm doing really, really well. My recovery is going great. I feel great. Everything is good, except it's just, I go to sleep all right, but I wake up in the middle of the night with just anxiety.
Okay.
And I've tried everything, and I know it's because I still have fear related to the cancer.
Tell me about the fear with the cancer. What kind of cancer did you have?
I had colon cancer.
Okay.
And I'm just afraid it's going to come back.
Okay. And tell me once more how long it's been since you've been treated?
Well, I got the diagnosis and the treatment 3 years ago.
And you go back for your checkups?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And what do the doctors say about your chances of having it reoccur?
Very slight.
Very slight. And each year that goes out, it's even slighter, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
But try to explain that to my subconscious.
How much of this were you actually able to process while you were going through the diagnosis and treatment?
Quite a bit. I've done therapy my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm disappointed that I'm still having the problem.
Okay. What if I were to tell you that the fear is never going to go away?
In a way, that's kind of soothing.
Mm-hmm. How come?
Because it helps me accept it better, that it would be like, okay, well, if it's not going to go away, then I'm just going to be able to relax about it because I'm so determined to make it go away, but nothing I do makes it go away.
Because it's never going to go away, because we always have some part of us that will always be fearful. And when you have something like cancer that comes and threatens your life, it just exaggerates it and makes it very poignant that you had to come face to face with your mortality. If you could accept that the fear is always going to be there, it's always going to be a part of the experience, but how much you make it a part of your daily life is up to you.
Yeah, and the daily life, because there's other distractions and activities and life going on, it
is
pretty
easier.
much isn't even there.
Right, but this comes to you in the middle of the night. I think one of the points here for you to really maybe, I was going to say think about, but I think what I'm going to tell you is to feel. Let yourself feel the feeling. It was very real. What you experienced of facing your own mortality was very real. Make it a real process, but but as soon as you feel your feeling, the feeling is going to lose its energy. It just wants to know that you can acknowledge your fear and that everything is okay.
That's great. I can really picture that, being in bed and reassuring myself that everything is okay, because I don't do that. Mm-hmm. That's one tool I haven't used.
The only time you're telling me that you allow yourself to think about your fear and to let your fear be felt is in the middle of the night. So it is in the middle of the night that you're going to have to deal with this. Mm-hmm. That each and every time it comes up, you're going to have to recognize it for what it is. And then you're going to have to say, and I accept it and let it go. It's only a part of my experience. It's not all of it, because I am still living. and I am okay today.
That's good. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you too. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. Hi, it's Kim Taylor, and we're on the phone now with Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Doctor. Thanks for picking up. It's a pleasure, and I love your show.
Thanks. What's going on with you today?
I work in a corporate setting. I've been at my job for 30 years now, and there are some challenges that I'm continually faced with daily, and they're personality challenges of other people, colleagues, if you will. In particularly, my boss is a very high-strung, uptight, hostile type of individual, and it permeates into the whole room. And I don't know, I pretty much resolved to the fact that I'm not going to take it or escalate it to human resources or anything because of how long I've been there. I'm just going to ride it out. But I just deal with this. I take on the stress of that.
Tell me.
Go ahead.
Tim, tell me in which ways that you take on the stress of this. What happens to you? Yeah, right there. What happens to you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. When I find myself, I don't know. I guess the innards, my innards just sort of tighten up, and it just feels. My body feels kind of uptight, and focusing on the job at hand becomes a little more difficult because it becomes more about handling the stress in the moment rather than focusing on the job at hand.
Okay, so what you are saying is that you take on some of this stress that you're feeling from him. It makes you tight and tense inside.
Yes.
Does this person remind you of anybody else in your life?
Oh, totally. Yeah,
Who?
That's good observation. Yeah, my father was very, very similar in personality.
Okay. So probably one of the reasons why this particular boss bugs you so much is because of the traits that you are recognizing about him that were similar to your father. And that at the time that you were with your father, you had no power to change. You had no power to do anything different. Now you are dealing with a boss who has these traits, and you can't get out because you said that you're going to still stay there. It's not that you're going to leave your job. But now the question is, how do you deal with someone like this in the present, different than how you dealt with it in the past, where the only thing you could do in the past was to get out?
Exactly, yeah.
So what would you need to say or do that would make you feel more powerful about yourself?
I'd just make the choice to leave.
Mm-hmm. But it's, I think, a really important time for you to, as I say, take back your power by saying, I'm no longer going to let those who act out in this way, which is a very immature way of trying to take out all your frustration on someone else, but that you're no longer going to let it affect you. And you're not going to be their whipping post. And this time, you're going to stand up and say, no more.
Yep. Yeah, I can do that. I could just do that in my head.
Yep. Yeah. And doing it for yourself in your head will change the way that you think about it, and therefore change the way that you're feeling about it. This isn't...
I'll use that. No, that's the mantra, no more.
Yeah. When we hold in some anger, that it tends to then start to fester. And part of the anger is that, yes, the anger is directed at your boss, but before that it was directed at your dad. But ultimately it is directed at yourself and that part of you that was unable to stand up to your dad because at the time it was too overwhelming and you were too young.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be really helpful for you now is to not act in that same way in this adult situation with your boss. Don't.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Don't take it on. And if you do not let it affect you, you're going to feel better about yourself because you will have stood up and you won't take it personally. And therefore you don't need to carry it with you. And just let it go. Just think of yourself as it's just going to just bounce right off of me. It is not about me. I'm not going to let it affect me. I am going to come here and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to do a good job. And if he wants to act like the jerk in the room, let him act like the jerk in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But really be willing to act in a way now that you couldn't as a child, so that you can see that there is a difference. It isn't that you aren't the reason he's doing it, even though you were affected by your dad, but you are also not the reason your boss is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it affect you now.
Yeah, you're right. Correct. That's perfect. That's right.
No more abuse. Don't take it on.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay. What you need to understand is that you do have the ultimate power, and that is of choice. You can choose to leave, but you can also choose to stay and to let it not be something that affects you and makes you sick, so that you feel like that little boy again in front of a father who you were dependent on and had no way out. Today, you do. Use that power. You'll feel better about yourself. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
Hi, I'm Kim Taylor, and we're talking today about overcoming our fears and self-doubt. And I actually have an email that came in. And it's, Dear Dr. Kim, I am having trouble with an insistent, reoccurring problem of wanting to do something, and yet, when the plan is made, the negative demons pounce, and I am miserable and anxious about the coming venture, even though, when I actually go ahead and do it, I enjoy it. I can't seem to learn the necessary lesson. Can you, with a wave of your magic wand, give me a few new rules to live by? Thanks, Martha. Well, Martha, this seems to be like the question of the hour. How do I overcome my fears and get on with my life? So you've stated in your email that all the time you have spent being afraid is really wasted in the end, because you find out that if you just do it, you do enjoy yourself, and then your life is better. So what if I were to tell you that the goal is not to be free of your fear? Yeah, that's right. You heard it right. The fear will always be a part of the experience whenever you say, I want something. Saying those words means you are going to step out of your comfort zone and take a risk. Whether it's to go to a party or find a job or entertain or lose weight or ask for a raise at work, the first thought in your head will be a fearful one as you try to imagine what it is that you want to take, or the next step that you're going to take is that once you put yourself out there, this fear is just going to come up. So here's what you can do instead. I want you to start thinking about that feeling as just your survival response. Imagine there's this little person inside of you whose job it is to actually protect you from potential harm, so that every time you do anything, they ring the bell of fear to get your attention. It's meant to be just a warning system set in place to get your attention. But it's up to you to decide whether you can survive the risk that you are about to take. Remember, this little person cannot, and I repeat, cannot ascertain if this danger is big or small, if it's real or imagined. That's your job. Your job is to survey the environment to determine if the fear is worth heeding or if it can be disregarded because you're willing to take the risk. Most people end this whole process at the first alarm, because they think that means to stop, and they get so afraid of just feeling the feeling of fear that they stop. But it is supposed to be the first step in your process, not the end step. The goal is to feel your fear, determine if you can survive the next step, and then respond accordingly. Love your fear response. It keeps you alive. This is Dr. Taylor. We're on the phone now with Robin. Hi, Robin. What's going on?
Hi, Dr. Kim. I just had a question, something I've been thinking about for a while now. I have probably about 10 years or so left working, 8 to 10 years left, and I've been considering a job change just because I work about an hour away, and so it's kind of a lot of driving for me, and sometimes the drive gets to me, so I've been thinking possibly about trying to find a job closer to home, but I have a steady job that I really like, and I'm just not sure if I should make the change.
So far it sounds like the only reason you would make the change is because of the drive.
Well, there's the other reason, of course, is the opportunity to possibly make more money. Of course, I would like that and have some more for my retirement and everything. So I guess the two big factors would be the drive and then also the possibility to make more money. But I'm a job developer, so I deal with people every day that are, frantically looking for work. So it makes me even sometimes more afraid to think that I can do it.
But let's talk for a moment about the part of you that is wanting more. Because the first two things you talked about are practical, about wanting to work closer to home, not having such a drive. That seems practical. Uh-huh. The one about maybe to make more money so you have more for your retirement, that's practical. But what else is there? What's missing? What more do you want?
I think sometimes I feel that there's more I can give. There might be more opportunity for me to grow individually as well as give back more if I could get in a different environment. I like I said, I love what I do, mm-hmm. but I think there might be some organizations and companies out there that might offer me more opportunity.
Well, what you were speaking about, you could either get through your job that you get paid for, and or you could find it in other areas of your life, that you could find that you would be doing something or giving back in a way that did make you feel more fulfilled.
I like that. Idea. So maybe, do you think that maybe I'm putting too much into my career? Like maybe there's other things that I could work on just as an individual that,
what do you think?
Maybe being more creative and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't that sound right?
No, that's very interesting. I really never thought about that. I focus so much on my job and what I do and, how I can advance and things like that maybe I need to focus more on just me as an individual and what I enjoy and how I can contribute mm-hmm. in other ways than my job. That's mm-hmm. really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because let's just review those things that you said, that yes, it is a long way away. Yes, you could make more, but you're happy with your job. You like it. And the other part of this right now is that you know that it is hard to find jobs. Mm-hmm. But what you are feeling is that there is something missing personally for you. It's not that you have to find different work. It's just that it might be nice. But maybe it's more that this stirring is sending you that message that just says, go do something that feels really, that it fulfills you in a different way.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think there's a lot of things that I can change and work on just inside.
Like what?
So,
what?
Well, I think just valuing myself more maybe is one thing.
But what could you do that would make you feel like you were giving back? Because that's how we value ourselves, is that we feel like we have value, that we have meaning, and that there's a purpose to our life. Mm-hmm. You have more to give. Yes, but you have more to give.
I guess I just really have to think about what could I do to make myself, feel like I had more purpose and.
Maybe it isn't that hard to find. Maybe just the fact right now, if you were to acknowledge that you want more in your life that is purposeful, that you could do outside of work, that would enrich your life and how you felt about yourself while doing it.
Okay, I think that's some really great advice. I'm really going to focus on that and take the focus off of finding, a new possibility of a new job or career, and just focus more on what it is that I want, and like you say, just acknowledging it. That makes so much sense. Thank you so much.
Okay, because there is something right underneath that's probably calling for you, that if you were just to sit quietly, it would probably come right to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I honestly never even thought about that. I always, like I said, focus on the change of career, so that's what I'm going to do. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. I have some more emails that are coming in, so I'm going to read you one of those, but I also wanted to let you know that if you have a question for me and would like to send in an email, you can certainly do it by going to Dr. Kim at drkimtaylorshow.com. So this one is from Dave, and it says, I have a son who's a 23-year-old college student who lives at school. He has not performed well in school and has been on academic suspension. He was granted another chance to remain in school. If he is late or misses classes, he will be kicked out of school. I'm very frustrated and need some advice as how to fix this issue. He has also threatened to quit school, but does not want to move back home. How do I help? Well, Dave, the first thing that does concern me about your email is that you're asking what you can do to fix his problem. Your son is 23 years old and not showing any respect for you, for school, or really for himself. So it's time that he be held accountable and responsible for the choices that he's making, and for you to allow him to suffer the natural consequences for these actions. So my advice to you is you do not rescue him. Let him learn to stand on his own. There is that old saying that sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to find a solid foundation onto which to rebuild a life, and that might be where he is. So whether he is being rebellious or possibly partying too much or just lazy, it's really time for him to take his life more seriously. Well, it's going to be really frustrating for you to see your child screwing up and making bad choices. You cannot do the growing up for him. Let him learn to be responsible for himself by not saving him and not continuing to allow him to do the least amount possible while you still support him. Because with that, and you really need to see this, that the underlying message to him is that you will take care of him because you do not believe that he can take care of himself and do it on his own. A very important lesson for kids to learn is that any privilege must come only after they have shown that they can be responsible people. And if they're not willing to do their part, then parents should not continue to provide all of the privileges. So you can be very supportive. You can tell him that you love him and that you do believe in him, but he will need to figure this out on his own. And then, Dave, stand back and let him grow up. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. Hi, this is Kim Taylor, and we're on the phone with Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Kim.
What's going on?
Well, I was hoping you could help me out with something. I'm married, very happily married, have a good relationship with my husband, and I'm afraid I don't enjoy as good a relationship as I would like with his brother and sister. Some years ago, when we used to live back east, we had an enormous falling out. And basically, they just withdrew from us. And to be honest, that was really okay with me. I really thought what happened was their fault, and I don't need to go into too much of that. Here's my dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Through a lot of encouragement on my side, they have reconnected. And because through the falling out, they stopped communicating with my husband. And I know that hurt him a lot, and I very much encouraged him to try and reconnect with them and just forgive and forget.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing a good job on that. Now I have the dilemma of they want to come and visit. And I often find myself not wanting them to stay with us. We haven't seen them in years and years and years. I want them to stay at a hotel by near.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could handle that. My husband is insisting, no, they have to stay with us.
Okay.
Oh, and they will be, by the way, they will be bringing their enormous dog, and the whole first falling out, they accused me of being a dog hater. And trust me, that's not what ended the relationship. It was a fight that broke out when my daughter, who was then 3 years old, the dog just literally ran her over, hurt her. She cried. I told the dog to get off of her, and that was enough of a reason for my brother and sister-in-law to kick us out.
Okay.
We had been staying with them, and they kicked us out. And their dogs are never trained.
So this sounds like a setup for a repeat of exactly what happened before.
That's really, thank you. That's my fear.
Mm-hmm. So for you to feel comfortable, it sounds like you're going to have to set some boundaries with them.
Okay.
And that you're going to have to get your husband on board. These are actually people who have put their dogs first, and that they would rather take care of the dogs and have their dogs rather than protect a child and or keep some kind of friendship with their sister-in-law and brother.
Yeah. I think that's right.
So that really speaks to what their priorities are. And I think that it is very wise for you to set boundaries around what you're willing to do, because it sounds like you're still hurt by what they did, that they did not come back and say that they were sorry, and that they can see that that must have been very hard for you, and that this dog should be trained and that they will do better next time. But they're coming out now expecting to stay in your home with a dog that, say, is probably not going to be trained. And you're going to have to cook, and you're going to have to be nice and to do all of those things that you would do if it was a guest coming into your home that you cared about. But they don't care. But part of the problem is they don't care a lot about you and your feelings.
Yes, I feel very secondary in this whole situation. And I feel like my feelings are just never taken into consideration by them.
Well, you might just, get your husband on board to just let them know that your house is not a dog-friendly house, but that you found a great place for them to stay with their dog, that they can walk on the beach most likely. They can, go for long walks, and it's going to be much more convenient for them to be able to have a place that they don't have to worry about, so that all of you can have a good time.
I guess I could find a dog-friendly place. Would it help if I offered to pay for the hotel or motel, whatever it is? Do you think that's something I'm required to do?
Absolutely not. You don't have to pay for their vacation. The smart thing to do is to know that they are probably coming and they really haven't changed. And so the worst that you could probably do is to think that they have changed and that they will be different, kinder, nicer, that they won't let their dog crawl over everything and to, do all that they have done in the past. So the only thing that you actually can do is to change how you are with them. And that means that you have to set boundaries with people who don't have any.
Right.
And don't expect them to take care of you.
Got it. Okay.
Now that does not mean that you can't have a nice dinner for them and be very welcoming, but that they stay someplace else with their dog.
Okay. All right. Good. I'm glad. Okay. That helps. That helps a lot.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll-free at 866-564-1290.
Hi, this is Dr. Kim Taylor, and we're on the phone now with Courtney. Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
What's going on today?
I'm calling because I have an issue kind of just finding some time management for myself. I think that I put others ahead of me all the time, and so I have a really hard time just making time for me and kind of promoting my own personal happiness by doing things that make me happy, sometimes ahead of what others are asking of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm calling to see if you have any advice about some strategies or things that I can think about to put forth in my life to make myself come first in my life sometimes.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What would you actually be doing if you didn't have to do for someone else?
Well, I think right now I'm really in a place where I'm sort of struggling with my weight issues and knowing that I need to be in the gym more often and making time for myself just to be alone at the gym, I think is a huge priority for me. And it's a priority for me on paper. I schedule it for myself in my planner, and I know that I want to do it and should do it. And then when it comes time to do it, there seems to be
Someone
all
else,
these other distractions or things that come up.
And probably someone else that gets in the way that has needs that you feel like you need to go and meet first.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Courtney, what do you get out of meeting other people's needs?
Well, I mean, I do find satisfaction in helping others, and knowing, that helping them makes me happy, that I do find personal satisfaction out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't, always. Sometimes, I know that things come up that just have to be taken care of, and I understand that.
Okay, but for the most part, what you're saying is that you give because you get something back in return by doing that.
Yeah.
But that you're feeling at this point that it's never quite enough because you're left feeling either disappointed that you didn't get enough and or empty because what you thought you would get didn't come.
Yeah, I just think that sometimes I put myself on the back burner way too often. And then when I look back at the end of the day or at the end of the week, I feel like I've checked off a million things that have needed to be done for others or in general, but that personal time for me never got met.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be a continual problem.
Okay, but I think that you just had your answer there. You don't put yourself first because you think that what's more important is getting other people to validate you for doing for them. But you continue to be disappointed in that. What makes it so hard for you to put yourself first and to say no to others?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's a big problem. I don't say no easily to others, even though I want to.
That's right.
Even if it comes to...
And each time you don't say no, when you want to and need to, it's actually that you betray yourself and you don't take care of your own needs. And you really start to not feel good about yourself. You lose trust in yourself because every time that you say yes when you really mean to say no, it hurts you.
Mm-hmm. I think others are going to be disappointed in me, or they're looking for me to say yes, and so I don't want to.
No. You've taught them that you will always say yes, and so they are looking for you to say yes because they know that you will do it instead of taking care of yourself. You would have to change what you're doing in order to teach them that sometimes they're going to be disappointed because you're going to have to say no. And you have to make that be okay with you, that others can be disappointed in you and you can still feel good about yourself.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you? Do you see that?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Because if you are only hungry for other people's validation to make you feel good about yourself, you've put yourself in a role that you're not liking. And I'm sure that if you're saying you're having weight issues and you can't get to the gym, you're probably eating to hide and cover up the feelings of anger and resentment that you're having. And then the fact that you can't say no and can't carve out time just for yourself shows when you can't get to the gym, even though you've scheduled it in, but everything and everyone seems to be more important. I had a friend once that in her date book, it was all these blocks of time that said me, 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 and me. And I laughed with her and I said, what is that? And she said that if she does not schedule herself that she gets left out. And she no longer wanted to live a life in which she was the last person to ever get her needs met, and that she was no longer willing to wait for everybody else to be fine so that she could be happy. So that she carved out this time, and no matter what, nothing came between her and taking care of herself first. One of the things that I may say to you is that why don't you practice standing in front of a mirror and learning to say no? Because this is something that's really hard for you to do. You think you have to say yes because that's the way you think that people are going to love you. But the problem is every time you say yes when you really mean to say no, you don't love yourself. So stand in front of a mirror, practice all the different kinds of ways in which you can say no. No, thank you. I'm sorry, that's not going to work. Maybe next time. Let me get back to you. But just you find something that you can say so that the filter you put this through first is, does this work for me? Or because your job and responsibility is to first take care of you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Kim. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. So every day, many people give up on their dreams due to self-doubt and fear. But it doesn't have to be this way. Here are some steps to overcoming doubt and fear and bringing your own goals to life. First, separate yourself from your fear. Fear is not all of who you are. Instead of thinking that all of you is fearful, learn instead to say, there is a part of me that is fearful and doesn't want to move forward, but somewhere inside of me there is also a desire to move forward and reach my goal. Second, you have to do the work. Confidence is earned. Although trying to reach your dream will bring up stress, fear, doubt, this experience is precisely what you need for you to build your emotional muscle. You must do what you fear the most and challenge yourself, because when you do it, you will gain self-esteem. You learn to deal with your fear by relying on yourself to take action anyway. So stay focused on what is in front of you, not on the end game. And once you do what's in front of you, the rest of it will come along. Third, redefine what failure is. The only way you can really fail is if you don't try. So anything else is just a learning experience, and it's guiding you to your ultimate success. You have to be willing to keep going until you find what does work. You will also likely experience some setbacks, obstacles, failures along the way. Keep the goal in mind as you keep moving forward, but always just take the next step. Choice is a very powerful act, so practice mindfulness and be present in the moment. Say, I choose instead of I have to. You are responsible. You have control. Feel how empowering this simple change of words can be. You have to remember, not making a choice is in fact making a choice. So choose with conviction instead of just dread. Also, stop thinking about it and just do it. Make a commitment to yourself that no one else can let you down more than you can. So making a commitment about what you want, that you can then stand strong in making this work out. No matter how challenging, how fearful, or overwhelming it may seem, decide that you are going to go for it. And once you do this over and over, you will start to notice the feelings of confidence. So do it. Do it scared if you have to, but just do it. So I will be here with you next Thursday between 2 and 3 p.m., where I will be here to take your questions and your emails. I'm your Thursday afternoon psychologist, and you can also listen to the program through live streaming on the internet by going to drkimtaylorshow.com. I would also love to hear your comments about how you think the show is going, or perhaps even topics that you would like to have discussed. And again, you can email me at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com. And try joining the conversation on Twitter. This is also new for me, so it's at Dr. Kim Taylor Show. This Sunday, I will also be taking your phone calls, and you can check out my website for information on how to contact me on that day at drkimtaylorshow.com. And lastly, these shows can be heard again on the rebroadcasts, Thursdays at 10 p.m. and Sundays at noon. In closing, I do want to thank Richard Dugan. He's our audio engineer here. And then, of course, Sandy Jacoy, who is the screener, and she's a great person to talk to when you call up. She'll be here to help you form your questions, to get you ready so that you can come on live with me. So until next week, don't forget, nobody else has to change in order for you to get better. Take care.